Yes, indeedy we are, Tackler. We made 2 NPCs, and now we're going to be making 2 villains to finish up the workshop for the night. We've already gone through, and on this other sheet here, we have the 6 officers as well as the ship, because the ship has a history itself. And we pulled prompts from the character sheets for inspiration for NPCs and villains that could come up over the course of an adventure involving the ship or any of its 6 officers. And so what I can do is actually, let's do that. And then we can just simply put that. We'll copy it over here. And that's what's beautiful about 5th edition, especially with backgrounds. There's more that we can draw on for inspiration from, but especially with the backgrounds, that gives us as dungeon masters extremely fertile ground to plant the seeds of adventure. Each of our players is bringing with them not just the mechanical crunchy bits from their backgrounds, but they are bringing a slew of potential for NPCs to exist that are important in parts of the world, that can anchor your player characters into the world and have them be a part of something. I made them Grimvex. As I'm D&D professor, just as I did when I had taught my econ class, and I had to make homework and tests and quizzes. I made a worksheet. I made a worksheet for for D&D creation. Alright, so you're going to notice that our villain generator is mostly the same as the NPC generator. And that's because... It is. Cheers to you, Ubiquitous. And that's because... villains are NPCs. They are, I mean, many villains are parts of that world. They don't, they don't just wake up in the morning and go, I'm a bad guy, I'm going to do bad guy stuff. They have hopes and dreams. They have secrets. They have things that disappoint them and things that make them happy. They may even have friends and family. So there's a couple extra layers because they have a different set of motivations. But now I want us to put on our villain hats as DMs. And we're going to think, what could, after a series of random rolls, what kind of a villain would this make? What could we do with a character we want to be a villain in a nautical adventure or a nautical campaign? Let's have a look, shall we? If you have your Dungeon Master's Guides, your DMGs, you can crack them open here to page 74, as that is where we're going to begin. Oh, yeah, Silver. Oh, man, that villain types can be an entire workshop in itself. That could be fun to do sometime. So in the DMG, there is a chart that will give you some seed ideas for adventure villains. I'm going to roll a d20, and we'll see what we end up getting here. $18. All right, so our adventure villain is... Oh, there's a cat. Well, she's made all those boxes of Minnie's Lucky, everyone. You all saw it here. Saw something funny. Random citizen keeps getting robbed, starts killing robbers, gets really strong, eventually draws attention to various adventures, builds traps to protect house, has to dig underground to be left alone, sets up more traps and employs minions. Random citizen is... Oh, yeah. I love that story, Tackler. There's another good one like that. I'll see if I can find it. If it's not popping up real quick, then I won't spend too much time with it. Here we go. Let's see if it'll load and be nice. No, are you not going to? Well, boo. We'll just do things this way. So here, right, we have rock beats scissors, right? Scissors beats paper. And I mean, what does paper really do? You know, look, the scissors are being crushed, the paper's being torn in half. The rock's just like, eh. But the comment at the bottom, if you read it from the bottom up, it's a story about friendship, murder, and revenge. So sometimes the perspective that you take on something can change something that could be very mundane otherwise and turn it into the fantastic. Zess, hello and welcome. Emmy has returned. As well as where the villain was the good guy just doing bad stuff for the better. For example, his brother could be dying. Oh yeah. Yeah, when you have villains that are nuanced, villains that actually have purpose and reason, those will make for better villains than I am a goblin necromancer. I do stuff with death magic, and I am foreign enough to that people apparently feel like they can just get away with by killing me. You know, so you're like, sure, you're the bad guy. In Sweden you say bag instead of paper. Hey, I love learning. So thank you very much for that bit of tidbit. Or for that tidbit of knowledge, I should say. Bit of tidbit is repetitive. Apparently I work at the Department of Redundancy Department. Alright, so we rolled that our villain is number 18. A humanoid raider or ravager. Well, if this doesn't work for a nautical campaign, I don't know what would. A humanoid raider or ravager. So that could be a pirate. It could be a Viking king or something like that. Now we're going to jump to page 94. And let's determine what is our villain's scheme. What does our villain hope to do? So I'm going to roll a d8. And then based on that result, we'll roll another die that's appropriate. So first result is 7. 7. Revenge. Uh-oh. And now we need a D4. And we rolled a 4. And number 4 on the revenge table reads... Retrieve stolen property and punish the thief. For any of you who've been around already tonight, let alone our prior generation of characters, do we have an idea that's going to link this villain to the party? If not, I mean, we're going to keep going, but it'll pop out at you, I promise. It won't be quite the jump scare, but it'll still pop out. Now, what is the method? How does our villain hope to achieve this task? Our villainous methods are going to be done similarly. I'm going to roll a d20, and then I will roll an appropriate sub-die. We rolled a 3... A 3? Oh, bounty hunting or assassination? That's pretty straightforward. Ah, ubiquitous. Ubiquitous, you're onto something. Let's take a quick little peek here. Camise stole something from someone, and the captain, Gangilly, has this passive habit of picking stuff up that doesn't belong to him. Camise is our smuggler, who purposely steals. Gangilly accidentally steals because he just has idle hands if he's not working on the ship. Apparently, we're working on the second page of villains. Huh. Now, what is our villain's weakness? Yep, just kind of a passive klepto. He doesn't try to steal. It's just that he loves being so busy with his hands that he picks stuff up, and it could be as innocuous as you go to the bank, and after you're done filling out your little deposit slips, you accidentally take the pen, or it's you're at the store, you're doing some shopping. I don't know. You're looking at you're measuring like how ripe is an apple because you want to buy one, and you notice there's a sale on something, or someone comes up and like, oh hey, it's you. Talk, and you just walk off with it because you got distracted. All right, now our weakness, we're gonna roll a d8, and our weakness is number 4. Number 4 is a special weapon deals extra damage when used against the villain. And now this means that this could end up being, what if the villain... what if the thing that was stolen is the weapon that can actually hurt the villain? What if the villain made some kind of pact with an entity for longevity, but, a special dagger, if it ever pierced him, would actually kill him. And so he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep the dagger on me, so that way no one else can have it, and it's perfect. And meanwhile, here comes this little child thief who's not afraid of making a daring pickup. And so the captain, while he was in town or something, or she, ends up getting the dagger lifted and sold or something like that from a smuggler in the black market. Who? And that could mean that this captain now sets out this bounty hunting or is willing to kill anyone who has this weapon, because this weapon might be the only thing that could actually kill the captain. Hey, the villain could be a warlock. I mean, we could randomly roll it, and that could be fun too, but not really a weapon. Maybe a phylactery? I mean, if we want to go kind of a lich route, it's possible. Kind of a Dorian Gray thing. That could be. I think that would be kind of like the phylactery style idea. Though it would be the painting would be the essence of the soul. All right. Well, we kind of have the occupation or history with the villain. If we want further details, we could always... Well, in this case, for this exercise, we're just going to roll something, and we'll find out. I'm going to roll a 22-sided die, and we'll figure out what our background, which is going to indicate what does our person do, aside from just raiding and pillaging. Another 17. Interesting. All right. So we go back to backgrounds. Another soldier. And this soldier is number 7. A standard bearer. Someone who carried the flag. Arguably one of the most dangerous positions because you're so obvious. You're someone who sounds the trumpets, flies the colors, leads from the front line, while often not having weapons available yourself because you have to hold the flag or otherwise, play the drum or the fife. Another soldier. I think we're tending towards a military-style campaign. And you know what? This villain... What if this villain is also the one that captured our ship surgeon, Doc Salem, and is from another an enemy vessel, and they ended up capturing him and torturing him for information. This villain could have 2 strong connections. The tip of the flagpole that the villain used to make the deal with the devil. What if the theft was a special weapon? It could be one with fancy scrimshaw and a spell, a scrimsword. These are possibilities. Yeah, it could be, so in a fight, the villain, being a standard bearer, you may not, you could be a captain, like an officer, a leader. You could just be a grunt, a private, and you're put on you're put on duty. And that could end up being compelling, right? Either way, we have maybe a strong officer, or we have kind of, we have someone who could have even been resentful. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. We had a soldier, trained as a soldier, but given a very dangerous position. And this person then, in a fight, it could have been a naval combat, or it could have been a marine action. Perhaps something happened where the flagpole, impaled this person. And as this person was dying, this could have even been during the battle with the other captain, by the way. With the captain who became a part of the Forget-Me-Not. And as this person was laying there dying, help me, someone. Anything, I'll pay any price. And now we have this situation where we have someone who may otherwise be, nigh immortal because of this pact. But as soon as he's attacked with that broken off shard, or it says a special weapon that deals damage, the weapon doesn't even have to be a dagger. What if the weapon is that flag that for some reason is still always wet with his or her own blood? And if in the presence of that flag, like if someone flies the flag back at the person, it weakens them. It makes them mortal again so that they can die. And of course, once they die, their soul has been pledged to a not too comfortable place. And I'm not talking about the back of a Volkswagen. All of these soldiers makes me think that there was a war in recent history, which could explain all the veterans. Yes, exactly, Emmy. The Pact could have created the Forget-Me-Not, and the ship is what they took? Oh. Interesting. So this could... So the villain could actually be the old captain of the ship, is what you're saying. Zulerpai says, we are or can interpret soldier as Marine. Look it up in the... Oh, yeah. We can interpret that if we wanted to. You know, there's specifically a Marine background in Saltmarsh, so I was counting it as its own thing. But honestly, for an NPC or villain, 6 to 1, half dozen of the other. But as Zulerpai was saying, it could also just be a mystical blade that has, you know, some etchings in it. Flagstaff placed, sort of like, I claim this land. All right, now, what does our villain look like? Presumably not like this. But hey, it's our villain. Could. Our villain could. So, once more. 20. 6/6/2020. 20. 6/6/2020. So, we have a 20-4-2-7-5. Okay, now we come back to this. 12, 6, 6, 10, 12. 12, 6, 6, 10, 12. And now we can interpret that as... Six, 4, 6, 9, and 3. All right, we have some placeholders. Now we get to wonder, what does our villain look like? How does he or she carry him or herself? Let's make this villain not just I'm gonna twirl my mustache and force the person to marry me, and put a face and compelling reason behind what's happening. Yeah, we could stick with something like that, Silver. I think it's very personal to the villain, and in some way it would be very poetic. In a sense, our smuggler would have to return what she stole. In that case, one of the adventures is simply recovering the stolen goods. Because there's an awful lot of people dying lately, and there's also a nearly invincible raider captain who's been on the patrol and making life upset for a lot of people. If our smuggler has a conscience, she might need to do what she needs to do, because who knows, they could be next. All right, so our appearance. I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit here. Our appearance, we rolled a 20. Exceptionally ugly. All right, so does our villain actually look like a corpse? Because here she is. Were we that far off? Is that how you would interpret ugly? Or in the fight? Or through any other fights? What if the person never dies but always carries scars from the wounds that he or she has received. And so the body is covered in mortal wounds that have scarred over, or that have, you know, if you're missing the tip of your nose, you could still live without that. And so maybe over time, if we're talking a Dorian Gray, the body is accumulating injury. You know, you're missing fingertips, you have cuts through your hands. You know, your eyes might work, but you have almost like a scar through them from an errant sword swipe or something. How do we define ugly? Is it something, honestly, that is just could otherwise be a very beautiful person, but dresses in absolutely, well, there's already flamboyant or outlandish clothes, but in clothes that we would consider ugly? We can interpret this a lot of different ways. Severely wounded in the battle and made the pact to survive. The wounds never heal, always bleeding. They could wear the worst option ever. Scarred from many battles, that works. So this person gets to live, but they have to live with everything that happens to them afterwards too. Interesting. So we would have someone who underneath his or her clothes probably has to be constantly bound in bandages. I mean, not that there's a worry of disease, but simply because the wounds, the wounds don't heal. Or the wounds have to be held closed because they'll close, but they'll always scar and leave like red or puckered scars or something. And of course, oftentimes, what if those scars even bleed because you never truly healed? It just kind of closes up, so you're not tripping over your own guts. Y'all are very creative. All right, our abilities that we rolled were 4 and 2. So our high ability is intelligence. Our low ability is dexterity. Tackler, we are coming up with a very interesting supernatural villain. The wounds attract flies. Perhaps all the more reason then that you wear bandages so they don't actually get in there, because every time that happens, that just causes a a greater a greater problem. In fact, if that's the case, we could give this pirate captain one of the hull upgrades that makes your entire crew zombies or other undead. Right? Maybe there's only a few living people that can tolerate this captain and vice versa. But most of the crew are actually undead. Meanwhile, we have our other ship that's haunted, but not in that kind of morbid I claim your body experience, but in the other let's pass on. It's the optimistic side of death. The other is the pessimistic side of death. That could create an interesting sort of poetic justice or duality in your story. All right. Our NPC, our villain is an NPC. All rectangles are squares, not all squares are rectangles. Our talent is number 7. Ooh, hey! Great at solving puzzles. What does this mean, everyone? What does this mean? The demon-possessed bodies. Oh, ubiquitous. Gotcha. And you know what? That could also put a pressure on this captain that he has to keep claiming souls. In fact, what if he has to claim souls with this weapon? And that buys him his immortality, or her. And now that the weapon is gone, soon the souls that were claimed are going to run out. Which would mean his or her own soul is on the line. And of course, that weapon could be used against the captain, so that the captain's soul goes to the demon or devil. Yes. So we have someone, especially high intelligence, loves to lay traps, is very good at, maybe navigation, nautical whatnots. And you know who can help the party if they're ever in need? Why, if they just go back to the inn, they might be able to find help. Especially from someone who served aboard this other sort of deathly ship that we made the other day. Well, the Riddler, yes, of course, ubiquitous. Grease, you got it, the innkeeper. Have I mentioned that this story writes itself, everyone? We just got to give it a chance. All right, what is this villain's mannerism? Number 5. Enunciates overly clearly. This person is very methodical in communication. His or her words are always meant to be clearly understood. I over-enunciate my words. Talks like old Jafar from the old cartoon Aladdin movie. Ah, tackler. Just got to give him the Cobra staff, huh? Now, how does our villain interact with other people? We rolled number 6. Friendly. Now, hold on, Matty Morgs. What are you talking about? We have a villain. How can a villain be friendly with other people? That makes no sense. We have an evil person who, if you're a bad guy, you have to kick every kitten that you come across. And you have to make life irritating for people. How can you have this person be friendly with others? Maybe the zombie crew only follows the most clear orders? Ah, ubiquitous. Also, if you're a flag bearer, a standard bearer, you might have to relay orders. And so in life, you had to communicate very clearly so that other people who relied on you understood. Hello, TJ. So I'd like to posit that just because we have a villain, we can have a friendly character. Someone who does make friends and is all the more scarier because this person does have connections and friends. In fact, can even capture the party and not just insta-gib them. Can sit down, talk things out, come to an understanding, and then kill them if But no, we have a friendly villain. This works very well, especially for someone who might be used to socializing. Probably. Oh, you know what? Oh, you know what we could do? We could go back to the exercise we were doing the other day when we were making crew members. Maybe because of the smell or the flies or something, he tries to be friendly because people aren't friendly back, at least on appearances. But we have someone who perhaps, as a sort of a residual memory from days in the military, have given names to all of the zombies and skeletons that are aboard his crew. And speaks to them as if they're alive, even though they're not. And also can't really communicate. They can take orders. He will have a drink with you before you die, ubiquitous. I really enjoy, like, kind of a guilty pleasure of mine are the gentleman villains who will be absolutely courteous and discuss things calmly and rationally, with the heroes. before, dabbing the mouth with a napkin, sets it down very properly, stands up. Are you ready? I believe we have some business to attend to. And of course, the hero just sort of, gives that kind of grim acknowledgement. Very well, please. Follow me if you will. There's a proper time and a place for this. And then, of course, the villain walks confidently with his or her back to the party as they go out to the arena for the big combat and showdown. And just, after a nice polite meal. And that's such a guilty pleasure of mine. If you remember back when I was deciding between 3 character options for my next campaign, look into a man named Hans Scharf. Was an interrogator. I don't have time. Yeah, I don't have time to read the whole article, but I did open it up, TJ, to read later. Although, if you want to give it a what's the association or what's the connection? Long friendly monologue to wear his enemies down and catch them unexpected when he's finished. That could very well be it too, Hark. Especially, at some point during our dinner, I will attack you and try to kill you. This moment, however, or at least until the main course is served, I promise an armistice of sorts. So please, enjoy your salads in peace, and we'll see what happens when it does. And just gives that big, genuine smile. No, don't be sorry, TJ, you're fine. There's just, hey, here's a character idea. Massive Wikipedia article. So I don't know, I don't know what you're trying to, specifically draw on. Enjoy your salad in pieces. I have an NPC assassin that is very similar. Oh, that's cool, Grease. If you have a couple instances of that playing out, I'd love to read about it. All right, what useful knowledge does our villain have? Well, I mean, we're kind of talking about that as we're developing this villain over time. And by the way, have you all seen what we've done with the time we've had so far? How step by step we're building this villain? We're creating a whole other story and then applying that story to the world that we've made. And just how organically it fits into place. This is a compelling villain in a compelling setting that will compel the party. You mentioned polite bad guy, and I thought Hans Scharf. Basically treated his prisoners as friends, took them out for walks, drank, treated them as a human being rather than torturing them. I heard about that person in a it was a book on negotiation. It was particularly like a business aimed negotiation book, but that character was brought up in it as an example of a negotiator. And then comparing it to more torture techniques and the like. Yep, you're exactly right, TJ. I was having a disconnect because I thought you meant your character that you were going to run for your campaign, because you were flip-flopping between the half-orc and the brother Drow to your former Drow character that's chasing after her. And so I just had a huge disconnect. Which channel in the Discord to link your random character spreadsheet? Emmy, you'll find it in our workshop. So you'll find it towards the top. It'll have a 3.5 floppy disk by it. I think it's called Past Workshops. All right, now what is our villain's ideal? Now we know that we need to get this, we need to retrieve this stolen property, especially because we'll actually die. And who wants to do that if it's ever used against him? But also, if he has this deal with the devil to uphold, then he better start collecting souls soon, because he'll run out of crewmates, he won't have a ship, and that leaves just him left. You went with the half-orc to round out the party, as we're 2 caster base and we needed a melee character. You found out you're going to be a party of the bad guys. Are you okay with that? Like, with being a bad guy, or... I mean, taking a character just because mechanically a party needs something can oftentimes breed a little bit of resentment, or like, I'm just playing this character as a space filler, and not actually as a character. I mean, I freely advocate it doesn't matter. Like, have a party of 5 clerics. You can do that in 5th ed, and you'll be perfectly fine. You're a part of the bad guys? Ah, okay. Good, good. Well, I'm glad you're motivated, because there are people who... people that I know that have played characters, and they don't like it because they said, well, I'm playing the paladin because no one is in heavy armor or something. No, that's dumb. Don't do that. Well, I took perception because no one else had it. Is perception not right for your character? Then don't take it. You don't need perception in 5th ed. You don't need medicine. You don't need arcana. You don't need that. You can get away with it. Or without it. Now, you have to be creative. But I guess I'm sensitive if people like feel like they're being forced into something. All right, we have a chaotic ideal. And our ideal is number 6. Oh my gosh! Whimsy. Now, it's not like there can't be 2 whimsical people in the world. I do want to make sure that's out there. We can have 2 whimsical people that exist. I will bring up, though, that the ideal of the Forget-Me-Not is also that of whimsy, thereby perhaps making a more firmly established link between the villain and the ship, especially if both were created under similar circumstances. Well, I'm glad you're excited, TJ. And I appreciate you also sharing that excitement here, because that builds a lot of energy. I have so much fun in my campaign being a double agent. Oh, Grimvex is a double agent too? Well, if TJ needs some pointers, hopefully you can share. I'm tempted to tweak the character slightly now that I have this new information. I might change from Vengeance to Conquest. Well, not whiny. Whimsy. As in... spontaneous, as in someone who drifts on the winds, someone who values, this seems fun. The ship is his phylactery. The current crew has no idea. Ah. And so the ship was a heist. Interesting. No, Silver, you're fine. You're fine. I appreciate you watching on a mobile device. And I hope I'm coming through very well on it. Have I mentioned the story just seems to write itself? All right, what is our villain's bond? Our villain's bond is number 9. Out for revenge. All right, if this wasn't already a story of revenge, and what were the odds of this? Let alone the fact that our bond, we are a creature of revenge. My goodness. We're like a revenge elemental here. If all signs of the cosmos haven't pointed... That is one of my catch. And you know what? It's not even just a catchphrase. It proves itself right in front of all of us. In front of all of us in real time. We are out for revenge. Super revenge. In fact, it could end up being a double revenge. Not only are we vengeful that we died, perhaps in a combat with that ship, with the Forget-Me-Not, but perhaps in that deal, he was able to be excluded from the ship, yet still soulbound to it. But his body and his mind, right? He's an intelligent character. His body and his mind continued on. He made his own ship. So instead of the Forget-Me-Not, I don't know what else you want to call it. The Revenger. Nah, probably nothing like Dread or Too Bad. And when this other thing was stolen, not only does he want to try and sink the ship, or somehow get revenge on it for killing him so long ago. Well, it would have been at least 30-ish years ago, because the ship's only been around that long. But now someone has stolen this very precious thing from him. That is another catchphrase. You know what? I should have a catchphrase bot. Maybe that's something I can look at when I'm on my summer break. And lastly, what is our flaw or our secret? We rolled number 3. Arrogance. Yeah, of course. Once you play to the villain's arrogance, that will start to be their downfall. Hubris? Hubris can very well be a villain's downfall. Recuerdo, Spanish for remembrance. And you know, TJ, that could especially play in because when we were talking about the special hull for the Forget-Me-Not, we were trying to think of a way, how can we have a ship that is flamboyant or outlandish along its hull, and yet it has this kind of dark undeath style genre to it. And oh shoot, who was it that brought it up? Well, still, how do we combine flamboyant stuff with dead stuff? And you want to know how? That's how. And so the Forget-Me-Not has a Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, theme to it, of grinning, dancing skeletons along the hull, vibrant colors. Otherworldly aspects to things. And so, in its own way, having the enemy vessel be thematically tied in to the Spanish language could very well be a fun nod and to keep things thematic. Because, of course, too, Spain was known for a great armada, especially lots of piracy, as well as the exploration of the New World, of different colonies, of Caribbean, Central, and South American culture. Zulerpai says the ship was renamed and the spell on its name is so if this villain sees it, he will forget for a day, allowing the ship to escape. Well, Zulerpai, maybe the villain is the only one who can actually get around that curse. And so it's kind of a constant game of tag. Or kind of catch me if you can. The Black Hood, says Silver Pirate. Hey, TJ, yeah, Day of the Dead Skulls. That's why I chose Spanish as my translation language for the ship's name. The original name of the ship could be Recuerdo, now forget me not. Oh. And so the other person with his ship calls it the Recuerdo. But the true name of the forget-me-not is Recuerdo. Like the Riddler, if you compliment his intelligence, he'll give you the answer to the puzzle. Puzzle solvers sometimes get cute. Oh, you all are awesome. What awesome ideas. Oh my gosh, please never run a villain against me because you're going to obliterate me. The Recuerdo. I can't help thinking of Goonies with Mouth's translation of the map. You know, all the kids are over this old Spanish map, you know, and we have this high schooler translating. It's like, ye intruders beware. The guy with the other ship is thumbing his nose at the captain using the name of the ship against him. That is arrogant. And that makes it memorable. I mean, it would, especially if the player characters end up picking that up, probably later in the adventure. But when they find that out, this villain gets so much more. This villain gets so much more lethal, so much more dangerous. So we have a villain tied into the world, tied into the player characters, and tied into at least one NPC and the ship. We did all of this through a series of random rolls, and I hope you all can appreciate this. You know, we had a little bit of, you know, mental elbow grease. All of this was done on random rolls. For the villain, for the NPC, for the ship, and for the player characters. It was all done on random rolls. And yet look at the cohesive world that we have built. I guess we could market ourselves as procedurally generating programs. We get so much more je ne sais quoi. We're bringing French into this now too. Kitty Cat Cosplay, thank you so much for the host. Ubiquitous says, maybe he gets more dangerous as you solve his puzzles. He thinks it's an insult to his intelligence. So yeah, if he's arrogant, especially with a high intelligence, he could become more dangerous, or you have to solve ever more dangerous puzzles. And that would get his attention. I now want to see a Pirate Batman series with the Riddler playing as this villain. Hey, there we go, Kitty Cat. Welcome, welcome. Hey, did you have a chance to go to that convention yet where you were making the Ivy cosplay? Although, wait, the Ivy cosplay was for your sister, if I recall correctly. But how did that go? Did you have a chance to show it off yet? Oh my gosh, everyone, this is amazing. All right, now we have the creative juices flowing. I want to take the concept and turn it around. Here, we did a bunch of random generation and then applied it to something we felt was going to be the best fit. Now what I want to do is I want to automatically set the goal up front and then challenge ourselves to take all of the random rolls and have all of those roads lead to Rome. I want to challenge ourselves instead of kind of the more free, the freestyle, everything can mean something because we'll just weave it as we go. I want to challenge ourselves now to predefine a villain as if we say, well, we want this villain. And now, how do we accomplish that? Well, I don't feel inspired. Let's roll randomly. Kind of a little bit of roleplay in that regard. So with that, and when I say villain, it doesn't. I think we've already made our big bad evil guy, right? Our boss of the adventure or the campaign. Feels much like that. Of course, you can always have a story of redemption, and we actually just made the mid boss. And in that case, what's the big boss afterwards? You didn't get any pictures of her wearing it, though. She wore for about an hour at the convention, was just a frustrating mess. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Was there just, like, lines or registration wasn't moving or something, kitty cat? I'm sorry to hear you didn't have a good time. Still, it was really awesome that you made that that cosplay for your sister. Do we want Big Boss could be well, yeah, exactly, Ubiquitous. Do we want to make the devil that's been having all these deals? Maybe this devil is also kind of, with its presence, right? Use these deals to kind of secrete itself into our world. And maybe that's why, a reason why a lot of our NPCs are in rags, right? Maybe everything just feels kind of dreary, feels kind of just soul-crushing, depressing. Everything just seems kind of gray and misty. Maybe that's because there is this devil. I kind of like that, Ubiquitous. So in this case, why don't we create some kind of archdevil? And now it is time to have our random rolls play into the creation, manifestation, or expression of perhaps our final form of our big bad evil guy. If we thought this pirate raider captain was bad, that was the warlock. We actually have to deal with the patron now, in a sense. Although, of course, if we if we wanted to, we could come down here real quick and do some quick character generator. There we go, if it'll load. We could come in here and be like, male, female. Here, let's do that real quick. We have a male. What's race number 8? A male elf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 different elves. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost a sea elf. Ooh, Shatter Kai. Oh, we're oh my gosh. Of course we're talking Shadowfell. Because we have been. Why wouldn't it be a Shatter Kai elf? Male Shatter Kai. I am going to roll on the penchant for evil, because I think we have a penchant for evil. 43. Yes. We have a lawful evil. Lawful evil male Shatter Kai. I'm not worrying about feats. I'm not worrying about what level. We already have our background of sorts. And so what is our class? Roll a d12. 5. Also a fighter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We rolled 6. A banneret. Yes, of course it would be a banneret for a flag bearer, for a standard bearer. Because why wouldn't it? Because the story wants that. The story needs this to happen for the cosmos to be in balance. Of course it would be a banneret. And another fighter soldier like the other actually, so both are major NPCs. The soldier and the soldier dock worker and the innkeeper are both drawn in on this too. And probably have information about the villain. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Is this kind of spooky to anyone else? Maybe, maybe not. Let me find the Shatterkai. Yeah, we haven't. Actually, it's not even old. So yeah, we have quite a venerable. This person's been around for a long time. $682 years. Though, of course, I don't know how much of that was actually lived as being alive. Oh, we didn't name our first villain. Maybe Evelyn Mumble, teased growing up, so learned to fight and enunciate. Evil captain collecting souls to fuel a portal to the devil's domain. Big boss could be a devil with dark power. Oh, right. Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies. That could explain Zess, the flies that also want to get into the wounds of this captain. Evil captain collecting souls. Very symbolic too, Zess. That was a good mention. Start with the grown man that pushed my... Uh-oh. The grown man that pushed your nephew out of the way of some pops he was looking at to buy and made the poor kid cry. A bunch of horribly behaved teenagers purposely yanking on the grass skirt of my cosplay to destroy it and laughing about it. Oh my gosh. Now, so is that, like, did you report this to the convention and they didn't do anything? Because, I mean, we have to keep convention and the attendees apart unless the convention was allowing for or not moderating or somehow didn't have enough security or other personnel on hand. Skynet wants this story, says Ubiquitous. Kitty Cat says, then don't even get me started in the lack of professionalism and organization. Oh, so there we go. I'm sorry. I just didn't get down in the chat enough. Had me running around the photo op area for 3 hours trying to find out when the photo op I paid for was. Yes, we're going to create a second villain, Kitty Cat, and boy, I am sorry that you had such a bad time. I've had some convention experience like that, and especially if you put in the time and you did make that costume, let alone if it was being destroyed or if people were interacting with it inappropriately otherwise. Yeah, that's... Whew. All right, so now let's make the ultimate big bad of this nautical story. We have this archdevil, or even an entity from the Shadowfell. I mean, not that devils can't go there, but it's more of a kind of a deathly. I mean, again, we have demons and devils can deal with that. But we have this big supernatural. Like the ultimate last boss of everything that we're doing here. Can our officers aboard the Forget-Me-Not, who have apparently overcame the possessed quasi undead captain of the ship who's out for revenge? Can they sail on and finally put down this devil that has been suppressing the emotions, the livelihoods of everyone else, freeing all the souls that died aboard the ship, right? The enemy captain collects souls and passes them on. The Forget-Me-Not doesn't allow the souls to pass on, and thereby aren't fueling the devil or the demon. And so it's almost this bank of souls waiting for release, but is being preserved. Even if they don't want to be there and it's uncomfortable, they don't want to be aboard the ship, it's probably better than having their souls going to fuel a demon. And what an interesting final conflict that would be. What if your player characters, you know, you have this very powerful, I mean, we're not even going to give this person hit points or anything, this villain, at least not up front. Fights and fights. It's tough, huge damage. The ship is getting kind of broken apart until it's at the point where it's time to release the souls. And in fact, that could even be where that piece of the mast or the flagpole comes into play, because it is apparently a soul conduit from what we're exploring and building. And so maybe there's some sort of like a core to the ship, a heart, or maybe they find the old captain's body is actually sort of mummified or otherwise placed into a sarcophagus that's the base of the central mass. You know, no one knew that there was a skeleton, you know, the body of this captain. And almost like a vampire hunter thing, like they open it up and you know, in the middle of the battle, they run down below decks. Things are really tough. They're losing crew members, and they come to this realization. They thrust this kind of soul medium into the captain of the Forget-Me-Not, who made this original bargain that brought the devil to the region. And all of the souls are released. And all the souls pour from the ship like floating lanterns on water. And now with the hundreds, thousands of people that have died on the ship or by the hands of the crew of the ship, by being hunted or in self-defense or who knows, by accident, they look at their oppressor. They may not have liked where they had been, but they definitely don't like where they're going to go. And so, the officers commanding the souls of 1,000 people begin the true battle. The recently departed crew members who died in the initial confrontation join in. The officers themselves are sailing a broken, floundering ship towards this demon. The souls of all the sailors streak across the water, spray everywhere, almost creating a supernatural fog. Like torpedoes or missiles, or just these rather morbid fireworks. The souls impact the devil, throw themselves against it, weakening him, or it, weakening this thing, bringing it down to size, making it not an invincible supernatural creature, tearing at it, frustrated, angry. And now, after all the hundreds of souls have dissipated and dwindled the resources of this demon prince, or this archduke devil, it staggers to its feet. The broken remains of its ship and the Forget-Me-Not collide, scraping into one another, binding to each other as broken chains and ropes and splintered planks just sort of catch, creating two shattered decks of two shattered ships. And the arena for the final combat is formed. The 6 officers bloodied, but resolved, look at each other. Check whatever resources they have remaining. This now mortal, question mark, supernatural horror takes stock and realizes the situation that it's in. All right, everyone. Roll initiative. Sorry about that. I forgot to mute the mic. Was that good narrative? How do you want to do this? Sorry, well, I was narrating the DM aspect here. They were not doing their job correctly. Many people reported stuff and nothing got done. It's because this convention doesn't train their staff properly, so no one knows what to do, really. Skeleton in the mast rather than the closet. Yes, TJ. Kitty Cat says, this gets me so excited to try playing D&D. Never knew, but my mom and dad knows how to play, so you're going to be helping you out with everything. Got Journeyman's God Killer's book. Oh, that's great, Kitty Cat. Yeah, I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. Look, role-playing is role-playing. Dungeons and Dragons is one style, and the God Killers that you ended up getting, Kitty Cat, is... look, you're going to have fun role-playing. It doesn't matter. It could be sci-fi, horror, fantasy, whatever. You going to get some sleep? All right, Silver. Hey, Silver, thank you for the follow. Thank you for finding us and giving us a chance. I really hope you enjoyed tonight's workshop. And I'm very appreciative that, you know, even though here you are as a first-timer, you really stepped up and were throwing out some creative ideas. And that's awesome. Well, I hope you all like that delivery. You know, could you... I should have had you all close your eyes and just had me narrate it. But as I was narrating this scene, could you imagine it? Could you see all this playing out in your mind? Did you feel maybe your heart kind of speed up a little bit? Were you imagining the conflict? The tension that was just ripe to burst? All right. We have an archdevil or a demon to make. It was great. Oh, awesome, Emmy. Reminded me of Return of the King. Oh, yeah. With I know the scene you're talking about, Ubiquitous. Now, with that description, I think we already know our villain. And we could look through and, you know, either make up or find some stat blocks. But what we're going to do is, while we know the villain as it was presented, this could very well be, how does the villain manifest in the world? How does this archdevil sail with our other villain as a first mate or something along those lines, as a passenger? Or how does this person sort of just walk through society? You know, influencing, corrupting, making deals, otherwise. You know, what's the skin this devil wears? Because we know the ultimate scheme and we know the ultimate form. But as it's manifested in the world, what else does it do? Since the souls are just going to be going right to him, or her, or it, whatever. Make it the Demogorgon they, because there's 2 heads? I don't know. Well, you know what we're going to do? You got that right. We're going to our Dungeon Master's Guide, everyone. Your mom says she used to DM back when she was in high school and played well into her 30s. That's awesome, Kitty Cat, and I do sincerely hope you get that opportunity. And when you play, I would love to hear about it, too. All right. So the villain is going to appear as... We're going to roll a 20-sided die. We rolled a 20. Well, then. All right, all right, all right, all right. A misguided humanoid zealot. So we have someone who just wants to preach the truth. The end is coming. The end. Oh, that's just Old Man Jenkins or whatever. Misguided humanoid zealot. Now remember, humanoid doesn't mean human. So the appearance could be any race, with the exception of technically centaurs in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica are Fae. Anyway. How do we wish to preach the word? By the way, is this story writing itself? We have a devil talking about the end times. And there's only one way to find salvation, right? We're going to roll a d8 and then find something else to roll. So we have a 5. That is passion. And now roll a d4. We got a 1. Prolong the prolong the life of a loved one. Of course. If everyone just gives a little bit, let's help this person out. Just a little bit of your soul energy. Just a little. And the mayor's daughter or whatever, the governess or the governor, or I'm not going to worry about that right now, but so this demon has possessed, before this final form revelation, a humanoid zealot who's been misguided, who wanders through the town or towns in the region, is searching for ways to prolong the life of a loved one, probably through souls. How does this person do that? We're going to roll a d20. We rolled a 14. And with a 14, through politics, now we're going to roll a d6. We rolled a 1. Betrayal or treason? Is he keeping the mayor's daughter poisoned and sick? Does this devil have knowledge about a particular pact or two that other people in the town council or in the governor's office or the regent or whatever? And of course, where does mixing, or where can, I don't want to say does like it's final, it works for some people and places, but where can mixing religion and politics, where can that get us? Especially if now, as the DM, we have meta knowledge, this is an extremely manipulative, harmful, supernatural religious force. What is our villain's weakness? Let's roll a d8. And we rolled an 8. The villain loses its power if a mystic bargain it struck long ago is completed. So it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen. This is... The will of the cosmos is just flowing is blessing us here, everyone. Loses its power if a mystic bargain it struck long ago is completed. Hey, Fi, welcome. This is a very spooky stream because everything is happening as the will of the cosmos is demanding. Ay, Dios mío. TJ has an amazing idea. Please share it. I'm going to roll a 22-sided die. And we're going to do something with it. Oh, here's the other cat. You want to jump up and show everyone your butt? Of course you do. We rolled a 10. Ten is a hermit. Because, yes, how else could you have a cloistered mystic who could have a communion with a devil? And by the way, hermits get a background feature that gives you insight into a major plot point in the campaign. Because why wouldn't you be a hermit? In fact, let's just keep this going, right? We aren't scared. I'm going to roll a d8. Not only are we a hermit, we are a hermit number 6. I needed to commune with nature far from civilization. Maybe on the sea? Or in a coastal cave? Far from the prying eyes and the protection of other people of other faiths? Or of people who might be able to bring you back from the brink if you start having some extreme ideas? I'm going to put Hermit number 6 here for abbreviation. The quiet seclusion of your extended hermitage gave you access to unique and powerful discovery. The exact nature of this revelation depends on the nature of your seclusion. It might be a great truth about the cosmos, the deities, the powerful beings of the outer planes, or of the forces of nature. It could be a sight that no one else has ever seen. You know, like a ruined temple of, some demon worship. You might have uncovered a fact that has been long forgotten, or unearthed some relic of the past that could rewrite history. Oh. It might be information that would be damaging to the people who, or consigned you to exile, and hence the reason for your return to society. Oh, you mean through politics, betrayal, treason, digging up skeletons in closets or in masts? Oh my gosh, this is creepy. But that's why I like doing this. Our appearance in our human form, our humanoid form anyway. So we have 20, 6, 6, 2020. 20, 6, 6, 2020. And that's going to give us a 2, 3, 2, 17, and 13. Now we take a look at our interaction. Or I'm sorry, our interaction with others. $12, 6, 6, 10, 12. 12, 6, 6, 10, 12. All right. 11, 3, 3, 5, and 7. All right, now that we have these rolls, let's go back to our Dungeon Master's Guide and see what this means. So a notable piece of our humanoid form archdevil is piercings. What is pierced? Where? Why? How does it look? Bunch of chains, jewels, different metals, all the same metal, non-traditional piercings. TJ says, how familiar are you with the first Ghost Rider movie with Nicolas Cage? I am not too familiar. Pfizer says, I don't know, but make the villain summon... why do I want to call them Knuck Leaves, but I don't... that is not the way to pronounce that. Knuckleavi? Or two in the first encounter. TJ says, the bad guy of the movie is after a contract which gives him the rights to the souls of some people who are caught up in a horrifically evil act. At the climax of the movie, he gets the souls, but as a result, he is now vulnerable to damage for the first time as he now has a soul. Knuckleavi. Okay, thank you. Tackler says, pierced horns with rusted chain between them. And of course, the piercings on the humanoid form that we're generating could very well translate over to the piercings or other parts that in the devil's final, the true form. Oh, no, I got you, TJ. I was reading with that association in mind. I just wasn't aware of the circumstances of that movie. So we have 3-2. So we have Condex. Dungeon Master Death, thank you very much for the follow and welcome aboard. Movie was a bit fecal, but still fun. Knuckleavi is a horse-like demon from the Orcadian mythology that combines equine and human elements. It has its origins in Norse mythology and is the most horrible of all the demons of Scotland's northern isles. The Knuckleavi's breath was thought to wilt crops and sicken livestock, and the creature was held responsible for droughts and epidemics on land, despite being predominantly a sea dweller. And I like that kind of know-it-all little raccoon. That's wonderful, Fi. Yeah, Dungeon, thank you very much for finding us, giving us a chance, and I don't know how long you've been lurking, but I hope that you're really enjoying the content that our workshop is producing. I do not Tackler, no. Maybe a large, bulbous, greedy devil with those ability scores? Well, yeah, we can imagine the final form of this devil or demon. What we're doing here is the humanoid, like the shape it takes when it walks the lands. You know, it could be akin, if any of you played Diablo 2. There's a character that is carrying Diablo inside of him, but he has a mortal body. I like the fact the low stat is Dex for a demon in humanoid form. They aren't fully comfortable in this form and bump into things. It could really work in their favor. Oh, it can't be that guy. He's too bumbling. Yeah, you know, it could be the beggar. Especially, you know, if you have someone whose job is to judge souls, especially looking for ripe, juicy, evil ones, posing as someone, as a child, an animal, a beggar, someone who's mentally or physically disabled, can really help reveal someone's attitude towards humanity. And just how easy could it be to corrupt them because you understand their interests, that they're interested more in themselves than other people. Or instead of making time to give the beggar a copper piece. That's probably not enough judgment, but, to scorn them or, get a job and start, trying to wail on them. All right, now the talent of the host, which could always extend to the demon, but we're talking about the humanoid form primarily here. Expert juggler. An expert juggler. What does this character juggle? He or she. Fiery bowling pins? Knives? Fun little cloth balls filled with dried beans? Skulls? I mean, that might be kind of obvious. That might get you driven out of town, depending on the attitude, but... Is expert juggler just a metaphor that that he or she's just really organized and can juggle their time trying to collect souls in all these different coastal towns? As a society, we should be judged on how we treat our weakness. A low-dex juggler. Like an evil version of the stork from R.A. Salvatore's The Highwayman. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that, Ubiquitous. All right, it's super late here. I should get to bed. I'm glad I was able to catch it. Yeah, Kitty Cat, it was great having you here. I'm sorry that the convention didn't go the best, but hopefully you had fun here, and it's a pleasure seeing you. And Kitty, if you want to put a link to your channel, Kitty Cat does do cosplay stuff. She plays some video games and other art projects, and so I'd urge you to go give her a look. So a low dex juggler, how could that work? And I'll show you a good example. I'll show you a good example, TJ. So here we have a character. This is Tiny, our Loxodon here, who has a rather low intelligence, right? I mean, well, 12 is a little above average, but it's not the best. And yet we can have a proficiency in something that's giving us a 3 instead of the 1. Or there's an even more potent example, I think. Here we go. Yep, for Vivian. Vivian is our smuggler. She has a -1 intelligence, but she's proficient in investigation. So actually, if we're talking intelligence and it's investigation based, she gets a +5. Everything else, not as good. So what this means is that we have someone who, by many rights, is more clumsy. Now, of course, when we're saying low is Dex and high is Con, I mean, supernaturally, this person could have a Con of 24 because they're possessed by a demon, and their low score is a 16 Dex. If you want. I mean, I'm putting things into perspective. Or, if we look at this as an example, because I do encourage people, if you have a low stat in something, that's fine. Take a skill proficiency in it. It means that the one thing you do here is good. And so, while generally coordination may be a problem, or more of a problem for this character than something else, perhaps there's some muscle memory, right? Juggling is highly practiced, right? It's all about rhythm and timing. And so just because you might not be able to, catch arrows that fly at you randomly or something, you might still have the muscle memory to be able to juggle. I'm looking for feedback on a monster I created not too long ago that you posted in the RPG workshop on Discord. Zess, I might be able to give you some feedback on that in a little bit, but I want to finish up the workshop here first. Ubiquitous says, if you haven't read The Highwayman, you should. It has an interesting magic system and monk character type. Well, thank you for the recommendation. The mannerism of this character is number 13. Fidgets. Little spasms. Difficulty with a mortal body trying to contain a fiendish presence inside of it. Makes the person kind of twitch a little bit, walk differently. That could again play into the I'm a beggar. I'm a wandering monk. Of a particular philosophy. I found religion when I was out in the woods. But this person might have a twitchy eye. Interaction number 11. Very quiet. Very quiet. Possession is uncomfortable for both parties. You gotta lean in close. I have words for you. Let me show you the way. Doesn't always have to be the whisper, but just tends to be very quiet. You know, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak. The ideal 3-3. Lawful. Honor. If this devil or demon possesses this religious zealot, who already seeks to try and bring the land back to, back to fertility, to a bounty, to moral order, where the politicians, even without, potential devil pacts, are acting dishonorably, that would make this person a good host for the possessor, especially if we're talking about a devil. Because the devil then would be playing to these notions of honor that the host has. I will bring people back to rights with my revelation, with my discovery, as per background feature. Our bond is number 5. Oh. Captivated by a romantic interest. Is that romantic interest an image that the devil placed in the hermit's mind? Does this person truly exist? Is this the daughter of the mayor? Is this the governess or governor? Is this one of the 2 NPCs, one of the 2 older halflings? Is the hermit, as the host to the devil, having a romantic interest in one of the player characters? And so, of course, as we as DMs explain that there's a preacher on the corner of the docks, and of course, you want to try and save the souls of the sailors, who are in distress or injured, or, might live lives of sin otherwise, or to try and preach your religion so it spreads through the sailors to other cultures. What if the mortal form of this devil actually is infatuated in some way with one of the players? Well, player characters. It could be concept, Zuler Pie. I kind of made a half joke about that. Instead of juggling, like flaming bowling pins, just very good at keeping a schedule. But you are absolutely correct, Zuler Pie. And lastly, our flaw or our secret is number 7. Has a powerful enemy. Well, of course you do. You have a devil. You have an archdevil living inside you. And maybe you know it, but you can't fight. You can't fight against it. Or if you do, it has to be very subtle, like leaving puzzles, like as you're interacting with the group, or at least as the devil's talking through the mouth and eyes and ears of the person. The fidgeting hand takes the quarterstaff and scrawls a quick message in the dust as kind of a cry for help. Possibly. We could interpret it that way, TJ. Otherwise, We have a hermit for a reason, and especially coming back to this, especially coming back up to, you know, the politics. The hermit could have been someone in the employ of a government or a, you know, a government, like a civil, a private, or a religious institution. And so we would actually be able to create another NPC or even like minor villain that would be the enemy to the hermit. That's not the devil possessing him or her. And you see, something like that could make for a great interaction. Because if the enemy is great enough, and the player, you describe the players, there's that hermit again, you know, preaching about salvation, and you describe this person being assaulted. You're like, oh, that poor man or woman. Let's go over and help. And suddenly, after the assault, which you know, the governor or whoever thought was going to end this, you know, this revelation or whatever, the religious institution, and suddenly, you know, through broken skin, you don't see muscle or blood, but instead you see kind of a rust red, almost fish scale texture underneath the flesh, and the flesh is closing up pretty quickly. And the hermit's eyes snap open, you know, yellow with black slitted irises. You saw nothing, or something along those lines. And all of a sudden, that person's not exactly who everyone thought they were. Now, what do? Do you panic the quiet fishing village? You know, do you hunt down and beat down this hermit who could be something or someone else? How do you handle that? Or you could just say that's really weird. And that's that. And then you realize, I guess we'll invoke some supernatural, although it's the yellow-eyed demon. They see the same eyes at the end of the adventure as the devil manifests or something like that. Our host is a female. Oh, what's number 1? An Aarakocra. We have an Aarakocra in the party. That is going to make an awesome link. Female Aarakocra. I'm going to use balanced odds. Female neutral good Aarakocra. Not worried about the level, not worried about feats. We already have a background of sorts. Class. Barbarian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are we going to get Zealot? That'll be super uncanny if we roll a 6. Alright, we rolled a 4. Storm Herald. Storm Herald could be very good too, especially in a port city. Though wouldn't that have been sweeter if it was Zealot? We were communing with nature, so to speak. We are a young adult, Aarakocra, so at least this current host is only 33 months old. By the way, Aarakocra like die naturally of old age around 30, so they're a very young race. 33 months old, and is a young adult. Might also explain why you're a little bad at juggling. This is a very good shell for such a diabolical force to live inside of. In which it should live. And it was an idea we were exploring, that the Aarakocra live on a remote island, and so they are sent out. In fact, this could even be Aarakocran politics. That Aarakocra are sent out from this island to the mainland. You know, almost like the Aarakocra are seagulls, like, you know, like, or seahawks or whatever. To explore and bring back, you know, ideas, merchant, like, maps, mercantile stuff, trades. And so this one could have been banished from her home island, came here, and especially being an outsider, you know, as she sort of settled down, and is rather young, and had these ideals, kind of innocuous. The people know Aarakocra exists because they visit, so they're not really seen as a threat or anything. And so this diabolical force could move into this young hermit, and take her over and use her body as a shell. I don't see why it couldn't work, Zuler Pie. I think that's it. I think that's fine. I don't have those in our Discord, Tackler. The only things that are available in the channels are the workshops, the worksheet stuff, like the documents that we use here. Probably helps if you possess a host that also has wings. That way flying isn't necessarily a bad option either. What an amazing adventure we have just conjured up here. By making NPCs, by making villains, by building it on the backs of PCs, and just the idea of, let's explore this book, right? Let's explore Ghosts of Saltmarsh. What's in here? What can we do? See why I'm passionate about this? Why I love this so much? The expression, the creativity. Just, if we sat down, like, we've been doing this now for about 4 hours. Look at everything we've done in 4 hours. And I'll tell you, if all we did was sit down and work, we could have done this in an hour and a half, maybe. Because, you know, we've been talking, took like a 10-minute, maybe a little bit longer, or I don't know, about a 10-minute break. Chat, laughing at stuff, bringing up references. You see how easy this is? And I hope this builds your confidence as a dungeon master, if you're not already one already. Or if you're feeling a little burnt out, I hope this can rekindle that spark to run. Or to give you new ideas or new challenges. To think about your characters as a player. To think about your stories, your world as a dungeon master. So insightful. Thank you, Grease Tapes. All right, I'm going to take about a 5-minute break again. I'm just going to get up and do a quick little stretch here. When we come back, we can, if there's any more ideas to throw out there, if you want to talk a little bit more about this, if you have a question about some Saltmarsh stuff, I can stick around a little bit longer and answer it and explore it with you. I don't want to be up too much longer tonight because it is almost 4 a.m. and I'm super tired from the day. But let's take 5 minutes, come back, and we'll wrap stuff up. We can go over a review of things, and then we'll definitely share the love, and we'll raid someone with some good energy. So I'll see you in just a couple minutes, everyone.